Reddit. What was the dumbest thing you did or said at a job interview? Should have said, I enjoy mentally stimulating situations and taking on challenges. Actually said, I like being mentally challenged. I'm afraid I've said this before without noticing at least once in my life. Interviewer. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Me. Maybe in pharmaceuticals. But, knowing me, probably wherever pays the most. And another for a job with safety for nuclear reactors. Interviewer. If there was a change in the safety specification laws for power stations, what would you do? Me. Well, firstly I'd look for a loophole in the law. Worryingly, I got both jobs. I think your loophole answer is actually smart. Told them that if I won the lottery I'd buy a large trampoline with a net and fill it up with playpen balls. They didn't seem to be that amused by my less than ambitious plans. I think we'd all do that, though. They're just jealous that you worded it haha. Interviewer asked how much I was looking for. I did my doctor, evil voice and said, $1 million. A. He didn't get the joke. B. He still offered me a 50% raise over my last job. When you use that line, it is imperative that you put pinky finger to your lips. Mock interviews at a high school. There were actual interviewers there, but it didn't count for a grade or anything at all. It was just practice. As I'm leaving, a kid at the other table is shaking hands. The interviewer says hello, my name is Mr. Yadaflaka, to which the kid responds hello sir, my name is Blair, and throws up right there. I can't imagine him being nervous, so I assume he was sick and just tried to tough it through. It was terrible and hilariously timed. I think he was mocking the interviewer's name. One of the questions I was asked was along the lines of, we deal with some colorful people. Are you comfortable around profanity? I said I was pretty freaking comfortable. I got the job. We deal with some colorful people. Are you comfor? Oh yeah, man. I love black people. Interviewer. What are your thoughts about teamwork and selfishness? Me. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Or the one. Interviewer. Is that Star Trek? Me. No, definitely not. Your mistake was not owning up to the trek. Interview for my current job. He asked me what my weaknesses were, thought frick it, said bullets and laughed nervously. Turns out it worked and he liked it. I hate that question. As an interviewer I often refuse to ask it. As an interviewee, my favorite answers are math. Anything beyond 4-dimensional calculus becomes difficult for me to graph, and I'm unlucky accompanied by a complete expressionless stare. Corrected the interviewer when they thought I went to a top university instead of a mediocre one with a similar name. Interview went south after that. Him. Are you able to lift up to 70 pounds? Me. Yes. Him. What have you lifted that was 70 pounds? Me. People. Him. Ooh, okay. Right, sit down. At least you didn't say bodies. Not me, but a guy I interviewed told me he left high school to go to college early because it was too easy. So I asked what grade he was in when this happened. His response: halfway into my senior year when I got kicked out. Could be that he wasn't trying because he was bored. Not that I would know or anything. The interview for my current job was interesting. It was getting chilly, so I had worn a thicker shirt over my thinner undershirt. Gotta look nice, right? I was directed to a seat in a small meeting room of sorts, and began sipping on a water bottle they gave me, sitting there in the air of mild nervousness that usually accompanies me to meetings of scrutiny and judgment. I began to feel an itch on my upper right shoulder. I reached back and scratched the spot over my thick shirt. No problem. Itch abated. Now back to rehearsing my fake stories of self-improvement and glorification. My potential boss came in and started asking me the standard questions. I did my best interview for a minute or two before I felt the itch again. It seemed in a different spot on my upper right back, but I just reached back and scratched it again. No big deal. Things were going well. I had this crap in the bag. Then I felt something else. Legs. Something was crawling the frick on my lower neck, trying to get into my undershirt. My calm, collected demeanor transformed in an instant to frenzied Cro-Magnon as I tore my nice shirt off and began whipping it around my head and slapping it to the ground in an attempt at freeing myself from the grasp of whatever heck Spawn was trying to gain more direct access to my spine. My future boss I collected myself for a moment and decided, hey, what have I got to lose? One last whip of the shirt sent a giant disfigured grasshopper sailing out and onto the table. Both of us won the day, got the job, and it's a shared secret between the two of us. You know, that one time I acted like I was on fire in front of my prospective boss. I was asked, have you ever witnessed anyone cheating on a test or exam or stealing something? What did you do? My response: I actually did see a friend cheating on an exam. I went up to him after the exam and said, you have to be more careful, because if I could see you, others could too. I actually was applying for a job at Abercrombie, A&F interviewer. If someone is shoplifting, what do you do? Me: stop them. A&F: it's against company policy to physically stop a shoplifter. You have to say something like, would you like a shirt to go with those flip-flops? Me: nah, I'd rather tackle them. That's okay. They hire completely based off of looks anyway. During my interview at Godfather's Pizza, the manager asked me if I smoked, to which I replied, cigarettes. Still got the job. Hahaha, I did that at my last job. I was still in the process of learning French when I started applying for jobs in France. I got a call back for a second interview, and when I showed up, I told my future boss I was excited for the job. Jesus tellement excité. He laughed pretty hard. I found out later that I hadn't actually said I was excited for the job, but that I was really frisky. Still got the job, though. It seems sometimes that FOME like that exist only to trick foreigners into saying sex stuff. Did you have trouble traveling here today? Me: no, it was really easy. As soon as you get near the virginity, the signs led the way. Me: vicinity. I meant vicinity. I'm not thinking about your virginity. Can we start over? Still somehow got the job. That is a bull's way of asking if you have reliable transportation or are a poor bus riding plebe. I told the head engineer that was interviewing me that one of the company's products didn't look as bad as I thought it did. He told me that he designed the enclosure for the product. I was still hired. Could have helped. You're there to help the company. Blindly agreeing with others' decisions won't do anyone any good. It was a college interview at Wake Forest, my dream school. She asked me something about my dog, and I blabbered a bit and ended with, I love animals in some obsessive cat lady tone. I didn't get accepted. This is something I did while giving interviews at Burger King when I stopped caring about the place. I would hold the interview in the separated place room, and have one of my employees' friends go up into the tubes and hide. Throughout the interview, they would make noise and go to the little windows to get the attention of the applicants. I would stay stone-faced and act like nothing was going on. The reactions were great. If we ever got caught, I was going to justify it as seeing how they reacted to adversity. I told the interviewer that I don't have good people skills at an interview for a job at a retail store. As you can imagine, I didn't get the job. I was eating a side salad at a lunch interview. Restaurant put a blob of green goop on the side that I assumed was guacamole. I love me some guac, so I decided to just grab up the whole blob with a forkful of a cucumber or some other random veggie. Turned out to be wasabi paste. The guys interviewing me later admitted they knew what happened, but I was determined to hold it together. It was all I could do not to choke and cough it out, but short of some tears, I pushed forward, grabbed some water, and kept on answering questions like a teary-eyed boss. Got the offer the next day. Maybe they thought you were asserting your dominance. For a summer camp job interview, they asked me why I want to work at the camp. I said, without thinking, well, kids get me excited, and I like getting kids excited. I only realized after the interview what I'd said. I'm sure that could easily be understood by the rest of the interview. That's really not that bad, except for being a little poorly worded. Once walked into an interview and the first words I hear are Mr. Insano. We've reviewed your package and we find it quite impressive. Needless to say, I died laughing. Oh come on, they were asking for it. The laughter, not your package, or both. During a job interview I was asked if I had a criminal record. I replied that I had never been convicted, kind of implying I was a master criminal who had avoided prosecuted. I did not get the job. When I was 14 they asked me to describe myself in 3 words. I panicked, and all I said was cool, and I couldn't think of any more words. So I only described myself as cool. I didn't get the job, either. Pizza Hut interview. Interviewer. A co-worker tells you that he is planning on stealing money from the register. What do you do? 15yo. Everyone has good in than vanilla me. I try to convince him not to do it. If he agrees with me, no harm, no foul. Shrug. I said that I would hit them with a sock full of batteries. She said she appreciated the initiative but wasn't sure about the violent tendencies. One time I farted one silent but deadly fart. When he asked me if I farted I just denied it, but then he says that there are only 2 people in the room and it wasn't him. I did get the job. He said that I wasn't trustworthy. Ask him if he has proof that it wasn't him. Maybe he will hire you for being persuasive. I have a great one. Not me but my friend. This was about 5 years ago and we were 19 years old. He was looking for a part-time job where he could make some extra cash. One of our friends was working at Circuit City at the time and told him they could get him an interview. So my friend decides why not and goes. The interview is going seemingly well until the interviewer asks my friend about a time in which he showed leadership quality. My friend panics and can't think of anything to say. Finally he turns to the interviewer and goes, I'm a leader of a Counter-Strike clan and we run scrims every night. Everybody listens to me when I run plays. Needless to say my friend didn't get hired for that minimum wage job at Circuit City. Not me but my ex-roommate said in an interview for a coffee shop, I don't really like coffee. Then the next year after he graduated with an engineering degree and on his first big boy job interview he said, I'm looking for a resume booster. I feel like he's really charming. Law firm interview. So, you say you like to read literature. What are you reading now? I'm reading War and Peace again, but it's slow going. After reading all day at school the last thing I want to do is read when I get home for pleasure. Actually that's what I do. Stammering, oh yeah, me too. I told Google I didn't know what a hash set was. I hadn't slept at all the night before. I was incredibly nervous. I'm used to just calling them hashes, and I just completely blanked out. I did not get that job. Google interviews are rough, man. I had a similar experience there with Objective-C topics. They called them by different names than I didn't realize till after the interview. Interviewer. How well do you work under stressful situations? Me. I work well under pressure. She then stares at me for a few moments and I let out, I'm sorry, I don't know how to answer that question. She then goes on giving me all the possible ways I could have answered. So, what are you hoping to accomplish while you work with us at EA? Well, I'm hoping to complete work on my laser, with actual finger quotes. Got the job. Turns out it sucked. Interviewer. So why should companies hire you? Me. I'm a hard worker. I can get along with pretty much anyone. And let's face it, I'm pretty much awesome. I got a big laugh. Didn't get the job. I'm still not sure why I said it. Last year I made it through to the final interview for Teach for America. One of the portions of the final is teaching a 5-minute lesson in front of the other interviewees. Speaking in front of groups has never been a strength of mine. About halfway through my crappy, watered down 3rd grade lesson on adjectives, my mind went completely blank. It was like I had forgotten everything about the lesson. I blurted out, "Ah frick, I just drew a blank." Everyone in the room looked absolutely horrified. I may be the only person in history to drop the F-bomb while interviewing for a teaching position. I did not stick around for the other portions of the interview. Last year I made it through to the final interview for Teach for America. Speaking in front of groups has never been a strength of mine. I see. I was at a job interview for one of those clothing stores that also sells prom dresses in the mall. It was a group interview consisting of me and about 4 or 5 other girls, all younger than me by about 2 years. The girl interviewing us asked, "What is your greatest weakness?" Since I was the first one who had to respond, I replied cats, and proceeded to half laugh and half explain my answer. Needless to say, I did not get that job. Open interviews are the worst. I had one for Charlotte Russe and all the girls were younger than me, wearing jean skirts and flip-flops. Ugh. Still cringe thinking back at how awkward I was. I am a little hard of hearing and sometimes misunderstand people. Once I interviewed at a place who took me to lunch. While there we got into some small talk about where I lived on campus. One of my interviewers was a lady who lived about 2 blocks from my old place. She was in her 40s, so I thought she said she lived there in the past, but I was incorrect. She was living there then. I made a few comments about how happy I was to get out of there and how the crime and gang stuff was getting out of hand. I figured she would agree, but instead got this look on her face like she was hurt deeply. I picked up that I had misheard, but it was way too late. Learned then to keep negativity inside at interviews. Asked what the policy on smoke breaks was. Told them I didn't have my own car and would have to buy one first, and described the job as a paper shuffler. I was 19. It was with New York Life. Yeah, didn't get the job. They asked why I was applying for the job and I said, because I need the money. I was trying to explain how this job would get me by while I complete my degree, and that I wasn't interested in making a career out of it, which I said, but that one liner about money just shot out of my mouth and I instantly regretted it. I didn't get the job. I never understand the thought process of these interviewers. If you're in college, why would a place like McDonald's expect you to say that it's your dream job to flip burgers? It's obvious you're in it for the money. They should hire you because you were honest and not some kiss butt liar. When asked for a fault I was working on, I told them I was very frequently tardy. It's a trait that runs in my family and I'm working on it. Telling your future bosses that you're going to be late all the time isn't the smartest move, usually, but it turns out they had some workplace honesty issues with their other workers and my bluntness endeared me to them. After the interview, they began referring to me as Sheldon from Big Bang Theory whenever they talked about me because of how matter-of-factly I said it. It pretty much got me the job. Probably because Sheldon was one of the few names of people they interviewed that stuck in their minds, even if it was the wrong name. Was interviewing for a pug job. Talked about how canvassing jobs like Greenpeace take idealistic kids, put them on the streets to harass strangers for money, and burn them out from caring about important causes for the rest of their lives in the course of one bad summer job. Come to find out the job was 30% canvassing. Whatever, I clearly didn't want it anyway. Former pug guy here. They are the worst. I eventually leveraged my experience with them for a field position on the Obama campaign. Everyone I talked to who has experience with pug had a bad experience. But don't badmouth canvassing. Canvassing, done right, can change the world. Done wrong, it does exactly what you said. Not really something I could control, but I had an interview in the winter. When I arrived at the interview center, the sudden temperature change made my glasses slowly fog up and I eventually just sat there, not seeing anything at all. I didn't acknowledge it, hoping it would go away, and just kept talking like an idiot. The interviewer asked me what my weaknesses were. Being 16 and a dumbass, I answered jokingly, nah, I don't really think I have any weaknesses. Look at this perfect face. He didn't laugh. I have been conducting interviews for the past 12 years and I've had some interesting people come in over the years. This is the first person I thought of and this probably happened in 2001. Girl about 23 years old. I asked at the end of the interview if she had any questions or any comments. Her response was to look down and say in a weird creepy low voice, I used to have this problem where I looked down a lot, but I'm better now, as she snaps her head back up and looks at me. That's kind of scary. We had a guy come in for an interview at my job this year. First he showed up about a half hour late saying he couldn't find the place. About 15 minutes into the interview he asked if there were any Mexicans working here because he hates Mexicans and couldn't work with them. He didn't get the job. And he didn't want the job. Not exactly damaging, but awkward as heck. The hiring manager welcomes me and invites me into his office. Hi, come on in, Ansel. Pleased to meet you. I'm Brian. I will be doing the interview today. We shake hands. Nice to meet you, Brian. I'm Ansel. Fasapum. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.